Welcome to the Flex Rental Solutions webinar. Today we're going to continue our discussion on the structure and availability settings for inventory models, and we're going to be talking about serialized storage. So I'm going to open a test quote real quick that we'll be working with. And let's go to the new inventory item window just so we can look at the structure and availability settings. Remember last week, or 2 weeks ago I should say, we discussed serialized packages. Typically you would set a serialized package up for an item like an amp rack or something where the items are bolted into the case. And you'll see that the main difference between a serialized package and a serialized storage item is the contents available being set to no or to yes. You can see that contents available is set to no for serialized package. But if I send contents available to yes, then it changes the preset to a serialized storage. So the main difference here is that if contents available is set to no, any item that you scan into this package will no longer show as available in that item schedule. So the example that we shared when we were talking about the amp racks is that any amplifier that you scan into the amp rack that's a serialized package, then that individual amplifier will not show as available because it's now scanned into a package. But if you have contents available set to yes, and let's say that you're building something like a cable package, then all of the cables that are scanned into the serialized storage package will show as available on their schedule. And we'll show what this means a little bit more as we get into this webinar. Also remember that contents permanent can be set to no or yes. It's not going to change the preset. And all this does is that any item that you scan into this container, it will either automatically default to permanent yes or automatically default to permanent no. And again, we'll show exactly what this means and what this looks like as we start building a couple of test items. So let's close out of this, and I want to show you a few examples of serialized storage items that I've set up in this system. And again, these are just suggestions. We found that some of these items are the best way to set them up in your Flex system, but of course, by no means are they the 100% wrong or right way to do it. We just like to offer these suggestions. If they work for you, then great. If not, then we encourage you to experiment with the different presets and see if you can find a preset that will work for the types of inventory items that you have. The first example I want to show is a small cable package. So I've already set this item up, and you can see if I go to Edit Inventory Item, we're going to set it up as serialized storage. So track by serial number is yes. Unit container is yes. Contents available is yes. The main thing that you'll notice is when you set up an item as contents available yes or a storage or serialized storage, then you'll have a storage requirements tab on the inventory model page. And what you can do here is drag and drop the items that are required to go into this package or container to make it a complete package. So in this case, since it's a small cable package and it's a small audio cable package, in fact I should probably change that name just to specify that it's audio and no other kind of cable. So what I would do is go to my audio cable, and let's just build this package right now with only signal cable. So I would drag and drop the items that need to be included in this container or this package with the quantities. So let's say I want 4 5-foot XLRs, 10 10-footers. Let's do 15 25-footers and 10 50-footers. So again, I'm putting this into the storage requirements for this inventory model. I'm not actually putting cables into a physical case just yet. I'm just saying what is required to make any of these serial units be a complete package or container. So let's open one of these serial units. Let's just open barcode 0475. And now you can see, because I built that storage requirements tab on the model level, now my contents tab on this unit has those storage requirements with a quantity notifier telling you how many you currently have in the container. Right now, because I haven't built this unit yet, you can see that I have 0 out of 4, 0 out of 10, 0 out of 15, and 0 out of 10 for each of the different lengths of XLR cable. So what I would do is either enter the barcode for each of these, and since my XLR cable is set up as non-serialized, then I'll enter the barcode and then enter a quantity that I'm putting into this container. So since I just put in the 5-foot and I only need 4 of the 5-foot XLRs, I'm just going to say I'm adding 4. You could also do a virtual scan, so by double-clicking on it, it looks like that didn't. Let me do a quick refresh and just make sure that my 5-footers actually went in there. I may have entered something wrong there, so let me try a virtual scan. Oh, the reason was because these are actually, it looks like my 5-footers are set up as a serialized model. And I think I just did that in some of my testing. So let's actually remove that from the storage requirements just because I don't want to deal with serialized cable right now. So you can see I removed the 5-foot XLR. If I go back to the content builder mode, and let's actually close and reopen this so it will reload. And you can see that the 5-footer no longer appears as being required to build this container. And another thing I also didn't mention is you'll notice that the content builder mode up here is red. And that's just a really bold notification just telling you that this is not a complete container right now. So let's finish building with these non-serialized. And we will show how to build these containers with serialized items as well. For this particular example, I just didn't want to have any serialized models in there. So I scanned all of those in. You can see that the content builder mode is turned green, which means that this is now complete. So if I were to add my small cable package to a quote, and then if I were to go confirm and create a pull sheet, we won't send out the notification. And now that I've created the pull sheet, let's go to the prep screen. And if I scan out this cable package, just like in our webinar last week, because I've scanned items into this barcode, into this unit, then when I scan it, oh, sorry, I'm actually supposed to scan the one that I built, 0475. When I scan that, then you can see that all of the cables that were scanned into it were scanned as well. So I want to undo this really quick. I'm going to go to related scan records. Just so we could show a couple more examples of how to do this. There are a couple ways that you can show the contents, make the contents appear on the quote. So first, let's actually delete this line so that we can re-add it. And remember, when you delete something from a quote, it will pop up this window here and say, do you want to delete it from the pull sheet as well? So just make sure that you click any other element that you want to delete it from as well. Let's go back to the small audio cable package. So one way that you can get the items to also show on the quote is by setting this up as a custom item. I would set it up as model container yes. And now you can see the preset has gone to custom. And this is still going to act a lot like a serialized storage item, but now we have a model contents tab. And anything that you add to the model contents, these are things that will automatically add to the quote. And let me make sure I'm getting my quantities right. So my 10 foot, I add 10. And I'm just going to add the same thing that I had in the storage requirements tab to the contents tab. So anything that's in this contents tab of the model of small audio cable package is automatically going to add to a quote when I put this on the quote. So just to clarify, I'm not actually putting any of these XLR cables into a container right now. This is model contents, which is like adding accessories to this model. So for example, now if I add the small cable package, because I had these items in the contents tab, now they add to the quote. And then as soon as I go and create, not generate invoice, I want to create update pull sheet. And so now if I go to the prep screen of the pull sheet, those contents will follow along the whole way. So again, let's scan. I don't know if that was the right one. But either way, so that's how you can get it to show the contents on a quote, is just by making the item be custom and changing it to model container yes. One word of warning on this: if you are going to set model container as yes and unit container as yes, make sure the contents available is absolutely set to yes. Because if you have this set to no, and you set it up like I just showed you, where you put items into the model contents and then also into the unit contents, then it would create a double conflict on your quote. So just make sure that contents available is definitely set to yes. And it looks like when I did that undo scan, it actually removed, I think I have a setting in my system where it removed the items that I had scanned in there before, so that's why they didn't scan out on the prep, because of that undo scan that I did earlier. Okay, so let's show another example of serialized storage. This one is going to be a wireless microphone package. I think we briefly touched on this during the serialized package webinar, but I just want to come back to it and show how it works, because in this one, you might actually have some items that are permanent and some that are not. So in this example, the case is going to have the barcode for the Shure ULX microphone package. And then inside, we're going to scan into each of these serial units. We're going to scan one receiver. We're going to scan handheld microphones, belt packs, antennas, anything that you have a barcode on, you can also scan into here. The receiver is going to be permanent because that's bolted in, whereas the other items, they could go between any number of these packages, so you wouldn't want them as permanent. So you can see the way that I have it set up is serialized storage, but contents permanent as no. So when I scan anything into one of these units, it will not default as permanent, but I could still check it as permanent if I want. So I have a little cheat sheet set up that I'll actually use my barcode scanner with. So I've opened serial unit 00264 of this ULXD wireless microphone 2-pack. And I'm going to scan in one dual channel receiver. And so you can see it did not default to permanent, but this is one that I might want to mark as permanent because it is going to be bolted into the case and probably isn't going to move between packages. But if I scan in, for example, a body pack transmitter, I'll scan in 2 of those. And I don't necessarily want those to be permanent because they could be taken out of this particular unit, moved to a different one on the show site, or just taken out and placed somewhere else. And so you don't want, when you scan this back in, you don't want these items to automatically scan back in with it. And we'll show exactly how that works as soon as we get to the scan in and scan out process. So let's also scan in a couple of handheld microphones. And as you can see, these are all serialized units that I'm scanning in. So I'm taking the actual physical barcode that's found on these units and scanning those into this Contents tab for this unit. My WL183s are actually non-serialized, so I'm going to do a virtual scan and just scan in 2. So now you can see that this 00264 unit of this wireless microphone 2-pack is now complete. And I've scanned in all of the body pack transmitters, wireless mics, lav mics, and the dual channel receivers that it needs. And remember, I checked this one as permanent. So let's go back to the test quote and show how this works. I actually want to delete it from everything. I'm going to add one of these 2-packs to the quote. And again, you'll see that it's not showing the contents. If you do want it to show the contents, again, you'll just go to edit the inventory item and say model container is yes, so it sets it up as a custom item. And then put the same items that you have in the storage requirements in the contents tab once that pops up. I don't want mine set up like that. I just want my customer to see they're just getting a microphone 2-pack. They don't necessarily need to see that they're getting a transmitter, body pack, handhelds, etc. All they want to see is they're just getting a microphone 2-pack. So let's update the pull sheet. And let's go through the scan out and scan in process so you can see how this hybrid, some items permanent and some items not permanent, works when you're scanning in and out. Okay, so first let's scan. Remember, we built unit 00264. So let's scan out 00264 on the prep screen. And again, because I scanned 00264 container, it's going to scan all of the items that are in it. So if I look at my manifest, you can see that it's scanned all of the items I scanned into it. And I already finalized. So let's just quickly go to the manifest now. Go to the return screen. Now watch what happens when I return this wireless microphone 2-pack. So I'm going to scan it in. That scans in the 2-pack itself, the case, and it also scans in automatically the item that I had marked as permanent, which was the dual channel receiver. And remember, I marked that as permanent because that's something that's bolted in, and I'm probably 99.9% sure it's not going to be removed from the case when it's out on the show site. The other items, on the other hand, these could have moved. These could have gone into a different 2-pack. They could have been taken out and lost. I mean, they could honestly be anywhere right now. So I want to individually scan each of those items. So I would open up the case, scan my body packs, scan the handheld mics, and then I'll virtually scan the non-serialized item. So now you can see that I've completely scanned in this wireless microphone 2-pack. And what I want to show you what happens now is if I go back and open 00264, you can see the permanent item has stayed, but all of the other items that I individually scanned in have automatically removed from this container. And so what you would do is after you've returned it, so after you've gone to the return manifest or done a free scan in and scanned in the case and all of the individual components, then you can go back to your content builder mode for the unit 00264 and then just rebuild by scanning all of the items in. And then we'll virtually scan these ones. So a lot of times you might think this would take a lot of additional time to have to scan everything in and then rebuild the container. But a lot of times it's actually quite easy because let's say that you're doing a free scan in and you just scanned in the case and all of the contents. Then all you have to do really is you could go, for example, to the calendar screen, then scan the barcode for the unit. So we scan 00264. And it will automatically go to the content builder mode, and then you can just go in and rescan all of the units so that you can quickly rebuild the container. And again, you want to do it this way because any of these items easily could have been placed in a different container or case or not put back into this one, so you don't want them to automatically scan back in because then you might have your availability get a little bit messed up. The last example, just quickly, that we could show of a serialized storage is a container or a storage container that you can use for different things like lighting equipment or speakers or something like that. So you can see that I have two different items in my system. One is called the VL3000 or VL3500 wash, and this is an intelligent lighting fixture. But then I also have a shipping case for that particular item. First, let's look at how I set up the case. This is set up as serialized storage. And in the storage requirements, I've put the VL3500 wash, a C-clamp, or 2 C-clamps, and 2 safety cables. 2 of all of them, actually. And so what I would do in this case is I would actually put the VL3500 wash onto the quote. I'll put 2 of them. And then when I go to the prep screen for this pull sheet, I would actually scan one of these cases that I've built up. So let's say, for example, 00340. And if I had scanned 2 lights, 2 C-clamps, and 2 safety cables in there, then all I would have to do is just scan this case barcode on the prep screen, and it would scan out anything that's in this Contents tab. In this case, you would probably not mark any of these as permanent because a lot of times you're probably going to be sending out multiple of these cases, and you can't expect anybody on the show site to return the exact lights, C-clamps, and safety cables into the exact case that it came, especially if you're sending out dozens of these cases, which I know a lot of our customers do. So I would not mark these as permanent. And you would just go through the same process where you scan this case out, it automatically scans out all of the contents. But then when you're scanning it in, you would first scan in the case barcode, but then you would scan in each light individually, the clamps, and the safety cables individually as well. Then you would go back and rebuild the container. So those are just a few examples of how you could set up serialized storage. And as you saw, there are a few different custom ways that you could set that up as well. Like, for example, as you go in and change the model container to yes, it sets it up as a custom. You would do that if you want the items to also appear on the quote. Another thing you could do, like a good example in this case, would be to set up a virtual item maybe something called a VL3500 package. And within the virtual item, you would put 2 lights, 1 case, 2 safety clamps, and 2 of the C-clamps. Safety cables and C-clamps. And then to fulfill all of the requirements of that virtual package, all you would have to do is scan out one of the units for the dual wash case, as long as it has all of those contents within it. And we'll talk a little bit more about virtual packages probably next week or the week after, as we continue the structure and availability series of webinars. If you do have any questions about serialized storage, please go to our forum, which I'm posting a link to that in the chat room right now. If you have any ideas or different ways that you've set up serialized storage in your system and you'd like to share some of those and give some ideas to some of our other Flex users, then go ahead and go to the forum. If you have any more technical questions, then please email support@flexrentalsolutions.com.